أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Before we begin, inshallah, if I can ask a few things. One is just to set your intention. This is why am I here and what do I hope to take home with me? What am I seeking? All right, we have to be conscious of these things because you can't get somewhere if you don't know the address. So be in the habit of knowing your intention, knowing your goals. Okay, so take a moment, inshallah, set that goal, set that intention, and then also my second request is make dua. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you that which you need to hear, to give you benefit, and to have every other person who hears this to also have that, inshallah. So take a moment of focused time just to set your intention and make your dua. All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. So what I want to discuss today is the very essence of what it means to be Muslim. What does the word Muslim mean? What does Islam mean? The actual meaning of this word, the root, comes from submission. Islam is to submit. Islam is submission, and a Muslim is one who submits. What does it mean to submit? And how does submission bring about salam, which is peace? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that from the beginning of time, every single prophet was a Muslim. From Adam all the way to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What does that mean? It means that they were all in submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, everyone in this room, we call ourselves Muslim, and therefore we say that we submit. But what does that actually look like in our lives? What does that look like in our everyday life? What does that look like in our mundane choices? And then what does that look like in our hardships? I want to talk today about what does that look like in our hardships. There's a lot of difficulty that we have as human beings finding the right balance between when should I be taking action and when should I be submitting. We have a lot of difficulty knowing when is this something I need to try harder towards, or when should I keep asking, or maybe when should I stop asking, or when should I turn from seeking to acceptance. These are hard questions. And so I think that it's very important that first of all we understand that the meaning of tawakkul. What is the meaning of tawakkul? And what is the meaning of patience, sabr, right? Because these are concepts that if we don't understand, we get confused, right? We get confused in how should I respond? So there's two types of situations, all right? There is a situation where there is absolutely nothing I can do about it. I just want to make this very simple. There is a situation where there is absolutely nothing I can do about it. For example, I'm going to give simple examples, clear cut. Someone I love has passed away. This is an example of something that I can do absolutely nothing about, right? Can I change it? No. Yes or no? No. Can I change the fact that so-and-so passed away? And the answer is categorically no. I cannot do anything about it. I cannot change it. There is no amount of action that can change it. There is a second category, which is the things that I can take action and change and do something about. So everyone got that? Category of things I can do nothing about. The category of things I can do something about. Now here is where a lot of us suffer. A lot of us suffer in both of these categories. We suffer in the category of things we can do nothing about. How? Because we cannot accept. If we do not accept in the category of things we can do nothing about, we will suffer. But here is the issue. How do I categorize that is very important, because sometimes we mix up these two categories. Sometimes we label the categories wrong. What do I mean? Sometimes we say, for example, I have a problem in my family, or I have a problem in my relationship, or I have a problem in my job, and I feel powerless. I feel powerless. Let me ask you this question. But which category is that? I feel, okay, thank you. I feel powerless, but which category is that? It is not actually in the first category. It is not in the category of something I categorically can do nothing about. So while I was actually traveling this last week, I was actually in Australia, and one of the questions I got was probably at the very end of the tour, and it was a very interesting question. And the question was, I hate my job so much. And I hate going to my job. I hate this job. This job is so bad. How can I learn to be grateful? How can I basically learn to be grateful about this job that I absolutely hate? For whatever reason, she didn't get into why she hates her job so much. But it was obviously causing her a lot of distress. For whatever reason, she didn't get into it in the question. It was an anonymous question. But what she was asking me for was, how can I be more grateful? So, do you understand what's happening here in this question? What's happening in this question? She has taken something which is in which category? Can be changed. And she has somehow put it in the first category. And then she's asking me how to deal with it. Do you get it? And we do this all the time. We do this all the time. Where it is something I can change. It is something I can do something about. But I have categorized it as something I am completely powerless. It's like it's almost like it's a given. And now tell me, it's a given that I have to drink poison. Yasmin, help me, tell me how I can be patient about the poison. I said something to her. I said, sister, I said, I'm going to tell you something you might not expect me to say. Stop drinking the poison. Do something about this job that you hate. You're asking me, how can I continue to drink the poison, Yasmin? It's so bad. It's so bad, Yasmin. It's so bad. But just tell me how to be grateful for the poison. And it never crossed her mind, or whatever reason, that maybe she should do something about the poison itself, instead of deciding that this is just the way it is, and I just have to figure out how to keep putting up with it. But so many of us continue to suffer. And this seems obvious, but so many of us continue to suffer because of this exact reason. And I can tell you that I've seen this theme again and again and again. So when I hear about various different situations, because people share with me, they'll send me messages, they'll seek advice. And one thing I have found as sort of a common denominator, right, is that people stay sitting too long in bad situations. Like not taking action, not trying, but failing, sitting, meaning this same theme of, Yasmin, how can I continue to drink the poison but be patient in it, or be grateful even? She's like hates her job so much. And what's very interesting is after the seminar was over, I got a private message from her sister just thanking me for saying that to her, because she's like, I have been trying to tell her that. So the idea here is that we have to make sure that we are categorizing correctly first. Does everyone understand that? We suffer when we either are miscategorizing or in the category of things we cannot change, we don't have acceptance. And in the category of the things we can change, we don't take action. We sit too long in bad situations. Now, I want to go back to what's an example of a situation I cannot change, and how that I can end up suffering. Okay? One really, really big one is the past. Okay? The past. Things that have happened in the past. Is this something I can change? Anyone? Everyone? No. Everything in the category of the past, I categorically cannot do anything about changing it, right? How do we end up suffering in this category? We almost believe sometimes that if we can repeat things in our brain enough times from the past, replay, that somehow the outcome will be different. That if I can regret enough, that somehow the outcome will be different. The Prophet ﷺ said that the word law, which means what? If only, what if? That the word law opens amal al-shaytan. What's amal al-shaytan? The work of shaitan. So when I open the door of if, about a category that I can do nothing about, or I open the door of, but it shouldn't have happened like that, but that shouldn't have been the outcome. I shouldn't have, she shouldn't have, he shouldn't have, it shouldn't have. Now there is a level of shouldn't where it is learning for the future. That's helpful and useful and healthy. But then there is another level of the if and the shouldn't that actually is extremely harmful. Because what happens is, in a way, I am not accepting. It's not that it happened, I didn't want it to happen, but here's what I'm going to learn, here's what I'm going to change for the future. No, it's almost like a denial of reality. It's almost like I'm fighting against reality. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Reality is, meaning it happened. This is reality, capital R. It's done, it happened. That's reality. But I don't want to accept it. It's not that I want to learn for the future. That's healthy. It's I don't want to accept it. No. It shouldn't have happened like that, so I don't accept that it happened like that. And so what do? This is usually where overthinking comes in. I will replay. I will loop. I will get stuck in whatever that is. And it is almost as though I am not accepting it. I want to change it, but what am I doing? I want to change something that is not possible to change. Right? It's the category of there's nothing I can do about it. But somehow, almost subconsciously, I am trying in my own mind, out of my refusal to accept, to change it by replaying it, by overthinking about it, by feeling certain things about it. But it shouldn't have. I don't accept. And this is why we have to be really, really careful. Because the past can actually suck us in a way that is paralyzing. We fixate. Do you know what fixation is? Fixation is when you hyper focus on something such that you actually get stuck. And this is a very, very dangerous thing. We will suffer if we are unable to put things in their right category. So with the category of things I cannot change, we must accept. And that is the essence of sabr, isn't it? It is the essence of what the Prophet ﷺ said as the antidote to the law, the if. And that is قَدَّرَ اللَّهُ وَمَا شَاءَ فَعَلَ. So in this hadith where the Prophet ﷺ is warning us about the danger of the law, the if, he says that it opens the work of shaitan, and he said that the alternative is supposed to be what? قَدَّرَ اللَّهُ وَمَا شَاءَ فَعَلَ. That Allah has decreed, and whatever Allah wills, He does. But Yasmin, what if it was a mistake? Right? Isn't that the question? But Yasmin, what if it was something wrong? What if it was something that shouldn't have happened? Again, it happened. Your refusal to accept it doesn't change that. It only increases your suffering. And it keeps you stuck. And it keeps you paralyzed, and it keeps you weak. So what should we do about the past? We should learn from it, and we should move forward. We should learn from it. We should grow from it, but we should move forward. We have to accept it as قَدَّرَ اللَّهُ وَمَا شَاءَ فَعَلَ. That Allah decreed, and whatever Allah decrees, He does. Now, what do I do with the second category? The things I can do something about. And you know the irony of our condition is that we spend so much time not accepting the things we can't do anything about. We spend so much effort fighting reality, fighting the things that have already gone, the things that are already done, and we can't change. We spend so much effort not accepting, so much effort fighting against it. And ironically, the second category, which are the things we can change, we accept things that we shouldn't accept. Do you guys understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we refuse to accept the things that we need to accept, which is stuff we can't change, the past, for example. But yet we tend to accept the things that we must not accept and try to change. Understood? So there are things in our life that need action. There are things in our life that we need to take action to change. And many of us accept it as if it was unchangeable. And I gave the example of, this sister with her job, right? Sometimes it might be a problem in our relationships. This is a big one. When we have a problem in our relationship, usually the question I get, I will tell you, this is a theme. This is a common denominator. Usually the question I get when there's a problem in the relationship, people will come to me and tell me, Yasmin, how can I continue to put up with it? Not how can I change it? Not what actions should I be taking to change this? It's, Yasmin, give me a pill of how I can continue to put up with it. Yasmin, tell me how I can be patient. Patient. Well, let's talk about the word patient. If your house is on fire, are you going to call me and ask me, Yasmin, how can I be patient? No. No. I'm going to say, you don't be patient by sitting. That's not how you be patient. You have sabr by taking action. Your house is on fire. There's something you can do about it, right? Your kids are in that house. You need to do something, right? You're in that house. Your family is there. So there's action you have to take, not asking how. It's like, Yasmin, my kitchen's on fire. Can you tell me how I can be grateful? How can I be more grateful so that I can continue to withstand the fire? This is usually the way the question is framed. Why? Why does that happen? Sometimes it happens because of a psychological phenomenon called learned helplessness. Learned helplessness. I want you to think about that for a second. What does that mean? It means that I learned at some point in my life that I am helpless. I learned. It was a learned thing. I learned that I was helpless. And so now I don't even try. Okay, how does this happen? So one example that I give is like, in the circus you have these giant elephants. And these giant elephants are somehow being controlled by this little man. How does that happen? The elephant could run over the man, like he could run off. How does it happen? Well, these circus trainers, they take these elephants when they're babies. And when they take them as babies, when they tie them up, they're not free anymore, obviously. When that baby elephant tries to escape, it fails because it's too small. It's not strong enough, right? It's helpless. So then it tries again, and it's not successful, it fails. It tries again to break free. It tries again to break free. And each time that it tries to break free and it is not able, it is learning something. And so eventually, this elephant learns helplessness. It learns that it is helpless. So now when that elephant gets to be an adult, a full-grown elephant, is it still helpless? No. But it doesn't even try to break free. Why? Because it learned that it is helpless. And this happens with human beings. This happens with human beings. At some point, we may have experienced a situation that we were completely helpless to change. We were helpless. Maybe we were children. We were helpless. But what that did was it taught us. It was a learned helplessness, so that now that we are no longer in that situation, but we still have the learned helplessness. And so we don't even try. We don't even try to change the situation. We don't try to break out of it. Do you guys understand? Like that elephant. So this is the second category, and why we suffer is if it is the category of things we can change. Your house is on fire. Is that something you can do something about? Yes or no? You don't seem sure. Yes. Categorically, yes. I'm not saying your house already burned yesterday, God forbid. I am saying it is currently on fire. Is there something you can do? And the answer is yes. But most of the time, we suffer because the question isn't, how do I stop the fire? The question is, how do I put up with the fire? How can I have more sabr in the fire? That's the question. And then, how can I have gratitude in the fire? We have mixed up the categories. Now, let me say this to you. God forbid you find out about an illness. Is there something you can do? Yeah, maybe there is. You do it. And you've done everything you can. Now, what does sabr look like? Once you've done everything you can, what does sabr look like? Acceptance. Do you understand what I'm saying? We suffer because we put things in the wrong category. We do not accept the things that cannot be changed. And we want to continue to accept passively the things that can be changed. And that's not what sabr is. Make sense? Okay, I'm going to pause there, inshallah, so we can have a discussion. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Does anyone have any questions or want to share any reflections?
How do we know what are the things that need our sabr? We have to have patience. And what are the things? Is it just that simple? Can be changed, cannot be changed? Because there are some situations more complicated than that, some relationships. And if you say that, like a friendship, but if you just break it there, it's like nobody's putting in the effort.
So your question, I'll repeat your question and I'll make sure I got it correctly. How can you tell the difference between the things that you can change and the things you can't? And then you gave an example of, for example, a friendship. If you just break it there, then no one's putting in the effort. But what it sounds like you're saying is that it's black or white. You either drink the poison, or you either sit in the fire, or you just leave the house. But isn't there a third option, which is trying to put out the fire? Isn't that a third option?
Yeah.
So that's my whole point, is that we don't try to actually change the situation. When you're saying, I'm going to either accept or I'm going to escape, that's not the only two options, right? Yeah. So it doesn't mean that as soon as something goes wrong, you cut that off, right? Take your body, for example. You have an infection, for example, in your foot. You have an infection in your foot. Do you go straight for amputation? well, no, hopefully you try to address the infection first, right? But then you also don't say, oh, I'm just going to have sabr about the infection and just, I know it's painful, but I'm just going to leave it. Well, then what happens? It spreads. It can kill you, right? But at the same time, you're not going to immediately amputate. So it's like you try to treat the foot. So when it comes to issues with relationships, yes, we try to change the situation first. Just like in the house that's on fire, try to stop the fire, right? Try to call the fire department. Try to get people involved. Try to get a fire extinguisher. But it's not, we can't say that, well, there's nothing I can do in that situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, what I do in a specific situation, of course it depends on the situation, right? You can't have a one blanket answer. But what I'm trying to get you to see so what I'm trying to get us to think about is, what can I do to better and change the situation? Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Indeed, Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change what's in themselves. So this is a worldview. It's an attitude. It's not like I can give one formula and it's going to be, one size fits all for every type of problem. It's a different way of seeing the world. It's a worldview of I am helpless versus I am not helpless. That's what it is. It's about understanding that we have to question the givens where we say there's nothing I can do. We have to question that. Just like that example of that girl, I wanted her to question whether or not there was something she could do about it, rather than asking me, how can I keep drinking the poison and be grateful? Is it possible to change it? Is it? I don't know her situation. I just want her to ask that question. And it turns out from the message from her sister, it was possible. And her sister was saying the same thing. But the point again is it's about changing our mindset. And like I said, when it comes to the lack of acceptance, it's in the things we can't change. We usually refuse to change things from the past. Like we refuse to accept things from the past. And then we're accepting things that are happening right now that we can do something about, But how you know the difference? Honestly, there is no black and white answer. But what I advise is this. Number one, not accepting that you are helpless in the things that can be changed. And always asking Allah. Always asking Allah to guide you. Always asking Allah to help you. always asking Allah to open for you whatever way is best, istikhara, but not just this passive kind of attitude about our own suffering. Any other questions? Yes.
What do you do in terms of the past example that you gave, where say you are accountable, you want to grow, you accept, you want to learn and move on, but the people around you
Yes.
don't. And they keep either reminding you, don't want to forgive, cut you off.
They are reminding you and they cut you off. I see. For a mistake. Or for something that happened in the past. Okay, so the question is, what if it's not just you who won't let you, who won't allow that moving on, but it's people around you who keep reminding you, they don't want to forgive, and they even cut you off. This is very difficult. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy. First of all, there's two parts to dealing with the past. One is making peace with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that regard, meaning this is the istighfar, right? For seeking forgiveness, repentance. This is to rectify with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? That's the istighfar part. That's the seeking forgiveness and the repentance part. The second part is doing your best to make right with people, right? Whatever that means in that situation. If some of their rights were taken, you try to make up for that. You seek forgiveness from them. You try to make it up to them. Whatever it is, to kind of rectify. But after sincerely doing both of those things, that's you. That's you done your part. Anyone who after that wants to continue to punish you, that's now on them. That's their choice. But you do not have to continue to punish yourself. Or to accept that from someone else. If you've done all that you can, that's all you can do, right? So as long as you have done your part to rectify with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and with whoever from the creation that we might have wronged, you can't do more than that. You can't kill yourself and that and that's your penance. It's like you can only do so much. So beyond that, if somebody is not accepting that, then that's their choice. That's on them. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. And yeah, maybe that's their right. They can choose not to forgive, but then that doesn't become on you because you've done what you can. Does that make sense? So you shouldn't continue to beat yourself up.
Well, part of the not feeling helpless also is choosing not to continue a relationship with that person or people. I'm not saying cut off.
Yeah.
But backing off. And
yeah.
Just not being whatever it was.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So.
Yeah.
Like the leg part, kind of a semi-amputation.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't cut the whole, you cut the toes or.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like what you're describing is not cutting off, but maybe boundaries.
Well, but
it's a different.
People just throw, that's not Islamic. You're cutting people off. Blah blah blah.
Well, that's the question. Okay, and when it comes to the whole question of cutting people off, boundaries, what do you do when something is abusive and it's, maybe it's a family member, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's very important to understand the principle. Of course, each case is individual case, but it's important to understand the principle. So the principle is, yes, keeping the ties of kinship is very important. We do our utmost best to not cut off the ties of kinship, right? We have silat al-rahim, not qat'a rahim, right? However, that's very important, right? But equally important is لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها, right? Allah does not put a burden or an obligation beyond what we can bear. So keeping the ties isn't meant to mean putting up with abuse. That's not what it means. So then how do we reconcile that, right? How do we find that proper balance? I repeat again, it's a case by case situation. I can't give, you'd have to look at each case, and I would advise getting mediators involved, etc., counseling, whatever. But ultimately, the goal is to prevent harm or abuse while doing your best to not completely cut ties. And I think that's the principle. How that's applied depends on the situation. And that's why I would say to get people involved. Any other questions or reflections? Yes.
I just want to ask a question. As you described the category of like acceptance that you can change and that you cannot change, and you also explained with the example of elephant that you learned helplessness. So my question is, if somebody has learned that he is helpless in some situations, so what are the ways, or what is the best way to unlearn that
Helplessness
to come out of it and accept it, that it is not the helplessness situation, but we accept it as a helplessness?
Yeah. Okay, so what I understand from your question is, how do we unlearn learned helplessness?
Yes.
Okay. And teach and basically show ourselves that
we are empowered.
I am empowered, I am not helpless, and this situation can be changed.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful question. First, I would say make dua. First, absolutely make dua. Go to Allah. And always we go to Allah and we ask Allah, Ya Allah, help me to change my situation. Let's go back to the ayah. Inna Allah, indeed, who? Allah. Who's causing the change? Allah. Indeed, Allah does not change the condition of a people. So, Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. So it's Allah who's causing the change, not me. But there's something I need to do first. And that's the thing. So I go to Allah and I ask Allah first. Ya Allah, change my situation. Ya Allah, open for me. Ya Allah, improve, fix, rectify. I always ask Allah. And then I ask Allah, Ya Allah, make it easy for me to take the action that I need to take. Okay? So first I ask Allah, always first. And I also ask Allah in what I have to do. Right? When we pray, when we say 17 times a day, Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in. What does that mean? It means you alone that we worship, but we don't stop there. And you alone that we seek help from. Because I can't worship Allah without the help of Allah. That's the reason. I literally can't do anything without the help of Allah. So it's always guidance, right? Help. It's iyyaka na'budu. Yes, I want to worship you in the best way, but I also need your help to do it.
Yeah.
So I can't get to Allah without Allah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also can't get to any kind of change
Yeah.
without Allah. Without Allah opening, without Allah guiding, without Allah assisting me. So I ask for that.
Yeah, and you explained very nicely, but I think that process is not that easy, because
It's unlearning.
At times you settle for that helplessness.
Yes.
Because you keep on asking Allah, and the good thing takes time, and result you don't see it instantly. And in that process you feel like,
Feel like
okay, helplessness
not
is
working.
the solution.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like the gray area in between. When do you know it's enough? Like you put your work hard, like any kind of relationship or whatever the situation is. Like you know that you worked hard to make a difference, but it's not changing. So when do you know now it's the other category? It's not like nothing I can do, but it's just something I have to accept. So I think it's
Okay.
the border is
So
very
how do
thin
you
in
know? Okay. So how do you know when something moves from a category where I can do something about it to category where it's like there's nothing I can do?
there. I can do it.
Okay. I think here is where we always have to seek guidance from Allah. So, for example, istikhara. Istikhara is a prayer where I'm asking Allah, if this thing is good for me, then make it happen, put blessing in it, make it easy and put blessing in it. And if it's not good for me, take it away from me, take me away from it, and then bring me what is good for me and make me pleased with it. So istikhara is very important here because you're asking Allah to take over. Guidance. We need to ask for guidance and we need to ask for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take over. But then what do, Yasmin, in the meantime? I'm asking Allah to guide my action. Right? I'm not trying to act on my own. That's very dangerous. Do you understand? I can't sit and overthink my way to figure it out. That's not going to work. I have to ask Allah always to guide my steps. Okay? But my point is we have to take steps.
Right.
We can't just sit. Can't just sit. We have to take steps, but we have to ask Allah to guide our steps. Okay? And finally, in the question of, let's go back to the house that's on fire, okay? So, kind of related to your question. So, how do I know? So, say my kitchen's on fire, God forbid. What do I do first? Well, I try to put it out, right? So, I get a fire extinguisher. I get a fire blanket. I call the fire department. I try everything to put out the fire. But now imagine that the fire continues and it spreads. Now what? Well, now I accept and just sit, right?
No, you still have
You still have a choice.
right.
You still have options. And that's where we sometimes forget. Make sense?
Yeah,
So
but-
even if I can't change the fire,
right.
is everyone following what I'm saying? Even if I can't change the fire, but I can still change what I do,
Right.
which is I can remove myself from the fire. So sometimes what we do is we focus so much on changing other people. So much of our effort, so much of our focus is on changing other people. But at the end of the day, we can really only change ourselves. So what happens is, say I'm trying to change another person. I'm like doing everything to change this person. And it's like, it's just not working. It's just not working. I cannot change this person. And then what ends up happening? I just have to accept. Well, yes, if you can accept, you can accept. But it is a choice.
Right.
You are choosing that. Sometimes we feel powerless because we can't change the other person. But we aren't powerless because we are choosing to what we do next still. Like, I'm so powerless, I cannot stop this fire. But am I powerless? Because I can still remove myself from the fire. And what happens is that when we become so focused on changing another person, we actually give away our own power and agency, which is to change what I do. Does that make sense?
Right.
Because I'm trying to change. I'm working so hard and I'm focusing so hard on changing what someone else does.
Right.
And this is actually so important because a lot of people confuse two things. A boundary, we hear this word boundary all the time, right? What does it actually mean? Right? But we confuse a boundary and a request or a demand, really. So we'll be like, well, my boundary is you have to stop doing that. That's not a boundary. Are you understanding? My boundary is you have to stop screaming at me. No, a boundary is about what you do, not about what you wait for someone else to do. not what you demand from someone else to do, not what you wait around for someone else to change. And so a request is, please stop XYZ. That's a request. Please stop, fill in the blank. That's a request. Once I do a request, who has the power?
The other person.
The other person. The other person literally has all the power. You've made the request, they can choose to do or not do. You literally have no power in that situation, right? A boundary is not a request. A boundary is, if this does not stop, this is what I'm gonna do. I have the agency. Make sense? Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to say. If this fire doesn't stop, I've tried. I've done XYZ. I've done, ABC. I've done this. And I've tried to change myself too. Remember, it's all about what can I change in myself. Mm-hmm. Then, if this doesn't stop, then this is what I'm gonna do. Make sense? So that's really the shift that a lot of us don't make, because we are so focused on controlling other people's behaviors. And we totally give away our power, because we can't control other people's behavior. We can only control our own. That's the only thing we have control over, is what I do.
Right. But especially like in Islamically sense, now I'm asking, relationship wise, the best way is, like, the last resort is you remove yourself from that situation. But then what comes next? Like, if you stop talking, then Islamically it's not considered polite, right? So what do you do in that situation? Like,
well, so that's what I was saying. What I was saying about to the other sister is that the goal is to keep the ties of kinship.
But if it's not possible because you tried everything on your end,
so there are ways to change the nature of the relationship without cutting off, if possible. Well, so for example, maybe the relationship was seeing so and so every single day, talking to so and so every day on the phone. But this relationship with so and so is abusive. I'm just giving an example. Mm-hmm. So one option is, okay, instead of seeing so and so every single day and talking on the phone every single day, again, this is in a situation where it's abusive, maybe it's messages regularly. Maybe it's sending money, maybe it's salam, maybe it's Eid Mubarak, maybe it's
like to the point.
It just, the nature of the relationship can change without it being amputated completely. That's just an example. Mm-hmm. And again, it's like I said, it really needs people involved, like mediation, counseling, perhaps advice from knowledgeable people. But ultimately, Islam did not tell us to be abused, right?
Right.
But in that same breath, I want to say that also the ties of kinship are very important. So that's why we do our best, even if it means changing the nature of the relationship, or maybe changing the frequency of communication, or maybe instituting boundaries, or having, like you said, maybe a little bit more distance, but to the best of our ability, not cutting completely off if possible, while still preventing abuse, trying to guard ourselves and our families from abuse. May Allah make it easy. This is also something we make a lot of dua about, right? We always go to Allah first, and then we seek the means. We seek the tools that Allah has given us, whether that's counseling or someone trusted in the community, mediation, whatever that is. But you can definitely, and I've seen it, where the nature of the relationship might change form without it completely cutting off, if it's a case of abuse or harm like that. Okay. Is that any other questions, or we'll wrap up there, inshallah? Yes.
So, excuse me, guys. I can't articulate most of the points, but something that you said now, and you said it in the previous episodes that I found very helpful. It's also similar to what you're saying. It's like when someone is taking advantage of a relationship, like let's say it's an elderly in your family member, like let's say maybe an uncle, aunt, or sometimes a primary parent like a mom or dad. Let's say they one of the previous episodes you said, like, if you are so focused on changing someone else and you won't have energy to focus on your own issues. So what I noticed was when during the day, without doing anything for myself or my children, I have zero energy. And I wondered, I started reflecting, saying, where did all my energy go? And I realized that someone would call, a family member or people around me, they would call and they would pour problems. And I would try to be so invested in them, and then I noticed that just try to limit, not like you don't hate them, but limit their interactions.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I started
You had more
having
energy.
for the children, for the house.
Inshallah.
And then what I noticed was your line was, where's the energy for your issues?
Yeah.
That stayed with me. I said, okay, let's find out. I said I will limit, even if it's a parent, uncle, aunt, I will just limit, and I will focus only what's happening in my life, like the things that I can do something about. So what happened was people started saying, oh, you don't want us, like they would manipulate or make me try to pull me into that mess, and I started saying, okay, why I have my own problems, I need to deal with it, I will help you, but I will designate a time for you.
Okay.
So some of them started getting offended.
Yeah.
Like, no, you should only have time for us.
Right.
So that line, I feel like writing it somewhere, saying it where's the energy for your issues?
Yeah.
So I noticed that maybe when you keep investing other people's problems, even if it's like a mom or a dad, like this parent raised you, of course you will not push
Cut them off. Yeah.
But same thing. So I all of a sudden, even if it's like a brother or sister,
Right.
everybody wants you to take your time.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you don't have energy for the children. You will snap, you will fight, or even you will be miserable. So I noticed that I felt more relief,
Right.
less pressured, have
Okay.
energy around. Maybe that's a more practical example that sisters we can understand.
Yeah.
How I articulated it?
Using that example exactly, I did that, and when I told, it was siblings and that dynamic, look, I just need a break, I got too much, please don't keep calling me. Some of them cut me off.
Right.
After that.
Right.
And I stopped reaching out because I used to be the one that always, I'm the oldest of 6.
Yeah.
So they're used to me, the older the wiser, blah, 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 all that stuff.
Yeah.
I got tired of that too,
Yeah.
so I never amended that.
Yeah.
But I used
So-
to, so I left it where it is. My intention is, I didn't cut
Yeah.
those 2 siblings
Yeah.
or whatever
Yeah,
off.
you're trying
They cut
to-
me, but I didn't do anything after that because
So
I still needed to recover still.
Yeah.
Once I did, I'm like, I don't have energy for that.
So again, the principle
So
going
these are
back,
practical problems
the
that
principle,
we're
the principle going back, because again, it's not one size fits all. These are issues that are specific and complex, and that's why we have family counseling, right? But again, going back to the principle is, Allah is not going to ask us to do something that is going to harm us. Okay, that's the principle. The other principle is, yes, keeping the ties of kinship is extremely, extremely important. Both of those are true. So how do we reconcile when there is these issues? And that's where, again, it's a case by case. But having boundaries like you set up, where it's like, okay, I can't spend all day having people offload problems to me because it's literally draining me and I can't parent my own child. Then that's where you put a boundary. No one's saying amputate all of the limbs, I'm never going to talk to you again. No contact with you, no contact with you. That's not what we're saying as a solution. When you have pain in your toe, you don't go just chop it off. That's not the overall go-to solution. However, you do have to take care of the toe. You have to do something. You don't just leave it. So I think it's right. I think it's fair to have some boundaries of like, here's what I can do, and here is beyond what I can do.
Yes.
That's all. That's all it is. It's about here's what I can do, and here is beyond what I can do. Now, the second part is sometimes people won't like that.
Yes.
We are not put on this earth to please everybody.
Right.
If you need to put that on the wall, put that on the wall. Right? That's impossible.
Everything in the head.
Exactly. It's impossible. It's impossible to please everyone. Has anyone tried? Is it successful? Let me know how that goes for you. Like,
tiring.
it's not just tiring, it's impossible. It's impossible. So I'm not saying just spit in everyone's face. It's not like one extreme or the other, right? It's like we're not talking about either people please or spit at everyone. No, there is a happy medium. Ummatun wasata, right? We are people of the middle path. I love how everybody likes to go from one extreme to the other, right? All the rhetoric, all the conversations, it's just like, oh, so are you saying we should just cut everyone? No, sister friend, that's not what anyone's saying. Oh, are you saying we should just put up? No, it's, why are we such extremists? Let's just calm down. Let's find that middle ground. So we cannot please everyone. That's impossible. And very tiring, as you rightly said. It is very tiring and it's impossible. But that also doesn't mean that we just go around cutting everything or spitting at people. No, it's about, yes, compassionate, respectful boundaries. You know what you can do and you know what you can handle, and you just uphold that. And if people are not pleased with that, you can't please everyone all the time. That's the point. You cannot please everyone all the time. And if you try, you just get very tired. You know, it's like running on a treadmill. You just get tired. You don't go anywhere. You don't end up, you haven't left any, you haven't gone anywhere. So just, as long as you are being right by Allah and you are, to the best of your ability, giving them their rights, that's very important that we understand what are their rights. What are their rights? Because sometimes parents will have you believe that their rights is that anything they say, you have to do it. Like they say marry your cousin, you have to marry your cousin, right? They say be a doctor, that you have to be a doctor. That's their right. Well, no, that's not exactly what it means. So understanding that I've done to the best of my ability to be right by Allah and to be right by this family member, but that doesn't mean killing myself. That doesn't mean neglecting my family. It doesn't mean using up all my energy so I can't parent. So that's what I mean by balance, okay? Subhanakallah wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.